It is true that climate change is a natural occurring phenomenon on our planet. Approximately every 100,000 years, the Earth's temperature fluctuates between cool and warm temperatures. At this point in time, the Earth has reached a point where it should begin to cool. Instead, it is warming more and faster than ever before, and we are the cause. Here's how it works. The temperature of the Earth has a direct correlation with the parts per million of carbon in the atmosphere. When heat-trapping carbon increases, so does global average temperature. Before the year 1760, the amount of CO2 in our atmosphere remained at stable levels of around 275 parts per million. And then, the Industrial Revolution. Since the coming of the Industrial Age, CO2 levels steadily increased. This was until about 1950 when it spiked. This past March, global carbon dioxide levels were recorded as over 400 parts per million globally for the month. The highest safest level at which these concentrations should be recorded? Just under 350. The Industrial Revolution brought about radical social change in the United States that resulted in an economic system based on growth and profit. This rapid growth required more energy than we as humans had ever needed before, so we turned to the abundant resources, especially coal and oil. There was a widespread belief that humans were separate from nature and possessed the power and the right to exploit its resources to serve our own needs. This system proved, and in some ways continues to prove, very successful and viable. But this success comes at an enormous cost to our environment. Burning fossil fuels releases huge amounts of toxic chemicals and greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, especially carbon and methane, that serve to trap the heat in the atmosphere and warm the Earth at unprecedented rates. Pollution, habitat destruction, rising sea levels, and exploitation of natural resources are just a few of the environmental problems associated with the fossil fuel industry. These changes negatively affect everyone in the world, especially the particularly vulnerable populations of the global south, by damaging economies, creating widespread health problems, and dramatically changing the very landscape where these people live. Today's current capitalist system operates on a foundation of fossil fuel dependency. Corporations are supported by a system that protects their interests and investments and guarantees future climate degradation and sea level rise. Fossil fuel companies are estimated to have 2,795 gigatons of carbon reserves, which they plan on extracting through any possible method. Extraction is becoming increasingly dangerous to the environment, society, and public health, but companies show no signs of lessening extraction because fossil fuels are so profitable. Environmentally conscious individuals and leaders around the world have recognized the immediacy of the threat posed by a continuation of fossil fuel extraction and resource exploitation. The system today is not sustainable. Remaining invested in these industries only exacerbates and continues the problem. The only way to change the system is to apply pressure on the industry itself. That pressure comes in the form of divesting from fossil fuel industries.
To divest means to pull funding from a corporation with intent to redistribute funds to companies, institutions, or nonprofit organizations that provide social and environmental good. These include renewable energy companies and conservation organizations that decrease environmental harm and increase sustainability. Divesting lets companies with harmful practices know that what they are doing is not sustainable for the future. Corporations have a responsibility toward their investors to create growth and generate profit. When the corporation is not held accountable for its degrading actions by an outside influence, such as governmental regulations, then it should be the social responsibility of investors to make a statement to the company that their practices are wrong and unjust. Divesting from fossil fuels is a market strategy that allows institutions, businesses, individuals, and other investors to take a stand against social injustice by taking money from fossil fuel companies, therefore taking their power.
In the past, there have been several successful campaigns to end unsafe or unjust practices that promoted divestment to decrease the power of harmful entities. These campaigns have resulted in divestment from the tobacco industry and from institutions that supported apartheid in South Africa. The success of these campaigns was measured not only in financial divestment from harmful industries, but also in the widespread stigmatization of the industries that drastically weakened public support. Divestment campaigns therefore serve two purposes: ending or greatly reducing harmful financial investments, and in the meantime, creating public awareness of harmful practices. Today's most prominent divestment campaign is largely a student-led movement with lots of support on campuses across the United States, and is based largely on the belief that modern educational systems should not claim to spark positive change while investing in harmful industries. Current estimates from Go Fossil Free state that the approximate value of institutions that have divested is $2.6 trillion. Colleges that have divested as a result from pressure from student body include Hampshire, Unity, and Stanford. But the majority of divestment campaigns, including those at Cornell, Middlebury, Brown, and Tulane, have been met with resistance from administration. It is important to note that these campaigns are not by any means failures, but actually successful in the fact that they have garnered support from the students, faculty, and community members and have captured the attention of administrations. Colleges across the nation recognize that we cannot expect our world to stay the same with our current levels of fossil fuel extraction, and many colleges are especially concerned with threats to their very existence posed by climate change. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, within the next century, sea levels in the Gulf of Mexico will rise approximately 4.5 feet, putting most of southeast Louisiana, including New Orleans, underwater. This is a shocking prediction that has sparked concern among citizens of the area under threat. Louisiana is a prominent state in gas and oil production, and recent development of hydraulic fracturing and offshore drilling have sparked concern among many citizens. New Orleans is particularly vulnerable. These are the reasons why students here on Tulane's campus have started to apply pressure on the administration to divest the portion of the university's $1 billion endowment fund that is currently invested in the harmful industry, and instead reinvest those funds in companies and institutions that promote sustainable practices and renewable energy sources. Members of Divest Tulane are very passionate about creating change.
This larger movement of people just really upset with the way that our country and our society, I guess, as a whole currently runs. And we've accepted that nothing is going to be done about it unless we take action. And the divestment movement is, I guess, just essentially trying to get the system changed.
And when it comes to being students organizing for divestment on behalf of the university, I think that becomes even more interesting because you have people in a position of power really being questioned for their practices by the young generation.